We bought this building. It was Underwood Supply. There was about 4 floors to it. And then what he did was, it was a department store for the companies that served number 8 and number 9. And they had furniture and they had appliances and clothes. My dad bought it in 1919 and he remodeled it. And he put a tavern. Actually, he put a store there first, then it became a tavern, not a store.
Now, you were born around here, Mike?
I was born right here.
Oh, this?
Right here in that house, yeah. That garage, my
Right
dad,
there in that house?
yeah, my dad, no.
Oh.
My dad, first of all, he remodeled that building, he put apartments and offices on the last 2 floors, okay? Actually, it would have been considered the 3rd and 4th floor, okay? And when he wasn't even married yet, and he married my mother, and they lived in one of those apartments. Then he built that house with brick, and he started having children. We were all in that house. I
said, let's go back and get the timeline now. Your dad was he born here in Farmington?
Italian. Italian.
So he was born
1886.
So he came to Farmington when?
No, he came to the United States in 1921. No, I'm sorry, he was 20 in 1907. And the first job was building subways in New York City. Couldn't make any money. So he went to Brownsville, Pennsylvania, worked in the mine, but the best job he could get was like 25, 30, 40 cents an hour. And he wanted the highest paid job, which was contract coal.
What year was that he came here to Farmington? Do you
Same,
recall?
but I think he was only there months. I think it was all 1807. I mean 1907. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I think he was a month or 2 in New York City, and then he was maybe 4, 5, 6 months in Brown. He got this job. He lived in a boarding house. And he worked 5 years in the mines. And he worked 5 years in the mines. Like I said, he had the record. He worked 72 straight hours without coming out. Because if he had a good vein of coal, he didn't want to leave it. He could get it because he got paid by the ton. And so he was possessed with that idea of making as much money as he could and saving it. In 1913, he got out of the mine, he opened up a grocery store down where you can cross up there. One of those buildings, there was a lot of buildings, Davy Lynch owned it. He rented and put a grocery store in. Well, he was still single, and he got drafted into World War I in 1916, whenever war broke out, 17, whatever it was. And he never went overseas. He stayed in the United States, and he became a cook. And when he got out, he wanted to be a wholesaler. And Jamison Coal, who he worked for, wanted to sell this building. They wanted to get out of that business. They didn't want to be a department store. They put a little company store number 8 and a little company store number 9. And so my dad bought it off of him in 1919. What attracted him to the building was it had down there when you see that road, those were tracks. Double tracks. I mean, there was a lot of freight and everything come through here, and they had a passenger train too. Okay. So my father liked it because there was a side track that came right over to this building.
Oh.
That the people that had the company store, they could get stuff by, and he saw, well, heck, I can get freight from all over the world, bananas, tape, because he wanted to go into wholesale produce. So that's what he did. And he had his wholesale in the basement of this building. That's down on that level. On the ground floor was the theater and the tavern.
It was all in one. All these things was all in one.
One building. One building. Yeah. Now, he leased the tavern and he leased the theater, but he put it in. But he wanted to lease it, just use the building to pay off, and had apartments. He had a lawyer's office, a dental office, plus apartments. Well, 1919, when he bought the building and started. 1920, he met my mother and married her, but go ahead.
Well, but he saw no collar in anyone's skin.
Oh yeah, whenever he had the tavern and he had the theater, he had no segregation. They could sit wherever. Yeah, and that was before he was married.
Now tell me about that. I mean, that's just amazing. I've never heard of anybody being
particularly back in
integrated as far back as that time.
Yeah, he was the only
When do you
one.
think that first occurred?
Well, when he opened that theater in 20
Okay.
or 21, somewhere around there. Because people to this day, their grandparents had told them about him.
Yeah.
And they'd asked me, was you Nick Arcure's son? I said, yeah. Well, he was the talk of the town because it was the only place that did that. And they had draft beer, they used the same glasses, whatever. And that's the way it was. If you didn't like it, you didn't have to come there and buy. He owned the place. You know, there was a lot of, let's say, blue bloods in this town that owned the mill. And different professional people that said, you know, Nick, my dad was named Nick, we'd like to come up and patronize, and we'd close down, go up and have a cold beer. But you allow these, whatever, you know the name, to come in there, and or we would. And he said, well, that's the way it is. I'd love for you to come up, but we're not changing. Back in the day, they didn't talk about it much. We didn't. But I'm telling you, my daughter went home with a black girl that lived up on number 8 Hill. And my daughter was friends with her and ran around together. She was a beautician. And the grandmother, Grandma, I want you to introduce my friend, Lisa Arcure. Arcure, what was your relation to Nick Arcure? She said, that was my grandfather. Well, your grandfather was the only place in this county that we knew of where my husband could go in and drink beer. That was in probably 1984 or 85, somewhere around there when that occurred. So anyway, that's just the way it was. I told you about the time that the black lady had a son that was my oldest brother's age. Now this was 1930. And they took a streetcar and went to Farmington to go to a matinee. Wouldn't let them sit there. They didn't understand that. So they went back, and my dad went up with them and asked the manager to let them sit there today because they don't understand this. And he did. That was in 1930. My brother and this black kid that was the son of the woman, the lady that worked for my mother. But that's just the way it was, and that was kind of inbred in us. That, you know, we had no, I mean, regardless, we all have a little prejudice probably, but I never, you know, never did anything mean to anybody like that. That was from my dad. Treat everybody good and they'll treat you good or whatever. Well, yeah, resident of Farmington was big because we learned a lot, because a lot of us were the same here. And, you know, my dad, we got our work ethic from him. He was a hard worker. And, you know, his main goal was his family, you know. He wanted to provide the best for his family, and he knew that he could do it in business because nobody could do it. Now, my dad had the theater burned down in 54, 5 or 6. Anyway, he had it rebuilt. Had the theater rebuilt. He had the fire. And I think it operated till somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s. You know, if my dad was standing here right now, he probably would think that